What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, back today with a market watch. But before we begin, if you're looking to shop TCG player singles, you can shop right here with the link in the video description. Take you straight to TCG player, and then any purchase you made will help support me and the channel, and I would greatly appreciate that. With that, let's go ahead and dive in. Back here with another market watch. A lot of crazy things. If you don't follow me on X, formerly Twitter, definitely be sure to do so. I'll go ahead and drop it here. And then also put the link in the bio along with the link for TCGPlayer if you wish to shop these. So definitely keep your eyes out for that. But let's go ahead and take a look here. So first we have Baby 5. I posted this. I was thinking it jumped dramatically, as you can see here. But I believe that was because of Birdcage Doflamingo. But there was a Perona build in which this saw it play, and it won one of their CS in Asia, so driving a bit of hype behind this card. So if you didn't know, you actually sitting on something kind of nice with some sales at this level here, which is kind of crazy, but it is of course a solid card. It was a bit higher, and I felt like that was way overvalued. I think around 25 is probably fair in my opinion, with where it's sitting at now. Of course, Perona being a waifu, and then of course people wanting to play the deck. I think that this card could see, it might be, it definitely have your rares. Definitely have your rares. I'm not a big alts guy. But if you have these, definitely probably I would take it out my binder and just kind of wait to see, because before it was $10, so what's the worst that could happen? And then of course, on the topic of Perona, we're talking cards in OP-06. We're gonna want this Don Quixote Doflamingo. He's already seen a big jump here. What was once like a $1 rare is finally making its way up. We see a number of cards from Kingdom of Intrigue doing the same, and we'll talk about another card that shows up in OP-06 here today as well. But if you don't already have a playset of Doflamingo, actually, I'm going to post some deals later, probably after this video gets up, but I know there's some still cheaper on other sites, and definitely grab those. Definitely, if you don't have a playset, pick it up. It doesn't hurt to have a playset of things. I've been working on getting some playsets. I finally just broke down and got the playset of Borsalino, who we'll talk about later in this video. But of course, any green deck is probably going to play this, being the best big drop, and of course, essentially buying you a turn. Strong card. I always felt like this card was pretty undervalued at $1, because it was the most expensive pre-release super rare, and then it goes to being like it was one of the cheapest. But we'll continue on. So one card that saw a ton of movement last night and today, everybody's kind of talking about it. Sabo. He's sitting at 75. This alt, I actually almost bought some the other day because I wanted a playset to match my ace, because I was feeling a little sentimental. But I did not, and as you can see, there's been a ton of sales at this level. Of course, just yesterday he was sitting at 50, but now lowest I'm seeing is around 70 across the board. So huge value. Might be worth looking to get rid of yours, but of course this card is essentially a staple all of OP-06 in every single black deck. I think they're all playing Sabo. I think I think the super rares are appropriately valued at what they're at. They're sitting around 15 right now. Kind of iffy on that. Got bought out earlier today. The alt got bought out yesterday. I think the alt is very appropriately valued. I personally would not buy this. I just could not buy that at that price. But it does have slight room to go, just because like Borsalino, it's arguably not as good as Borsalino still, but again, sees a lot of play, especially with Black Yellow Luffy being able to fully capitalize on this card. So just something to think about. But yeah, I think the rares, the super rares, there's still some out there available for slightly less than this. I think it settles around this. I felt like this was seeing too much play already in Sakazuki, and then just going over into the next format. Everybody's going to need him. If you're playing Perona, if you're playing Moria, if you're playing Sakazuki, it just adds 3, or even Black Yellow Luffy, that's 4 decks that will play this card. So demand is going to just slowly go up over time, but I think this is very fair. I think when he was around like 5, he was 6 for a while, felt slightly undervalued. And then of course Borsalino being a decent chunk of sales recently, all at 40. I finally broke down and bought one. I think if you're planning on playing any black deck with no confirmed Paramount War like general restock in sight, and I haven't heard anything about the stores, you can see there's not a ton out there. it might be just finally time to break down, maybe trade in some of those cards if your local has them, and swap into these Linos, because yeah, you will want these for OP-06 if you're playing Moria, if you're playing Perona, if you want to play Luffy. I think all of them are going to play this. And then of course Sakazuki, you probably play this. Then of course the alt also saw buyout. I think this really prompted the Sabo spikes, because this was, people are like listing it at 200, but no real sales at these levels just yet. But he was about 80. Probably settles around 120, 130. Again, just making Sabo like slightly appropriate, all things considered, since people do love to max rarity their decks. If I had this, I would be looking to get rid of it. Just because there's a ton, like if I had a playset of this and I could actually get rid of it at like 140, I think that's just insane value, and I'd just play the regulars, because then you pretty much get a whole deck for downgrading your rarity. My thoughts, obviously it could still move, but Kuan, I think Kuan at this point is underappreciated, because you can also play Kuan. He's not as strong as Lino. He isn't as stapley as Lino, but he comes from the same set, and he's also a black card, and all of the black cards are seeing movement. So I would keep your eyes on Kuan. If you're planning on playing Sakazuki, I'd probably pick these up sooner than later, just so you have them. I have my playset now. Glad I did it. They were around 18, slight movement, but you can see like there's still sales coming in. Might just be worth having these. Better safe than sorry. And then of course OP-06 Virgo starts the C play. This is super interesting. I'm not really sure why they're playing it, so if you know, let me know in the comments below, but definitely worth picking up your playset. I mean, I don't think it gets actually expensive, but we've seen $1, $2 commons, so we could very well see that once again here. So just something to keep your eye on. He's a 2K. I always thought this card was pretty decent, and now like a lot of people are playing it. And then of course black and yellow, Luffy can play this because the 5 stat line, so he can add him into his life. But yeah, keep your eyes on this. I know the super pre-release also, $17. If you have this sitting in your binder, it's actually kind of worth something now. Before they weren't. They've sold at 22, but previously, you know, you can see they were like 3, 4, 5, but now he's actually worth something because there's no alt, and then again that max rarity has some opportunity. Oh, then we also have Kaya on that. Again, I've mentioned Kaya before. Kaya's kind of up there. You know, she is a rare. If you don't have a playset, just get one. I think it's worth it. It's a blue 2K, and it's like the best blue 2K that there is. And it's got just a decent effect that gets you out of situations. So definitely worth just having. Because Reiju, I think this is the only blue card that Reiju really plays. So, and then that's just going to be, it could be like a $2, $3 rare. So I'll just get these sooner than later. Then, of course, 10-drop Kuan. I mentioned this because, one, like, it's a decent card to have. He's back down. He was $50. Card's half the price that he was at peak, and before he was also like $100. So this card's definitely, like he's definitely near the bottom. And a lot of people are talking this for Sakazuki, and if Sakazuki evolves, or if any deck really like can thrive with playing this, it could totally change it. So it's just worth having. I don't even think you need a playset of this. I own 2. I just picked up the second one at 20. I don't love 25, but just gonna keep your eyes on, possibly trade for. But yeah, this Kuan has been seeing some talks, especially with Nationals just a month away. And then of course, on the topic of just cards, I think Newgate, at one point this card like went back down. It went up. I think this card's okay valued, but with Borsalino, if Borsalino goes up anymore, I think that this card just should. I don't think he should be worth Kuan, but we're not seeing like a ton of play just because the Sakazuki value removal for this card. However, I do think it's something to keep your eye on. I took mine out my binder. Might just be worth doing that. He went down a bit. It felt a little oversold to me. But yeah, I still like Newgate, and we're going to talk about just kind of like this whole tree. Because this Marco's on his way down. He was $50 after the ban, of course. And then it slowly made his way back down. Now back here like 30-ish, which is almost like post-ban levels. If you're looking to play max rarity, now might be the time to just kind of pick these up. Because if any Whitebeard Pirates support comes out, all of these cards could be very relevant just because they're just that good. This Marco blocker, of course, being incredibly strong, so much so that they were willing to ban it. And then, of course, this Marco here, you see him around 5, 6. Really, on the low end for super rare, especially OP-03, since OP-03 has been kind of like increasing in just price for sealed, which usually just drives us increase in this. Of course, again, we haven't had any actual like local game store restocks on these sets, which is unfortunate, but which is why I can also just encourage you to just pick up a playset of reasonable cards, like cards that are good and affordable. If you have the money, don't spend money that you do not have. Please, please don't ever do that. Please don't spend any money you don't have. Don't put yourself in a poor financial situation just to buy cards, because again, at the end of the day, it is just cardboard, and especially like with that high rarity things. But on the topic of high rarity, of course, Poly slowly making his way back up, hitting what I believe are like new highs for the card. The all outside of, I think, probably the original buyout, but seeing 30 and then seeing sales kind of close to that, one at 37. Not a ton of people buying these. Of course, I would not buy these. However, no one thought this card would ever be good, and here he is actually good. So there is that. But the reason why I just would not pick up Poly is because purple kind of fades out in OP-06. People play Reiju, but Reiju plays all of her own support in OP-06. So he kind of falls off. He can always come back, but I would not touch high rarity on this. But that's just me. And then we've got Usopp. This one is decent, also OP-03. Slowly making his way up. So he's caught my attention, but he's the only blue card with Rush, and you can just hard cast him for Rush. A 4/5 Rush, and it can catch people off guard. I've seen people play this against me. I'm like, wow. And then there's also, of course, there's the possibility to play this in Sakazuki, and it could matter. And I've seen some people on the timeline playing this, and so it could become very relevant. And if it does, this is a very affordable alt. I did buy one for like 8. It's sitting at around 10 now. Not an insane amount listed either here on TCGPlayer. Again, link in bio if you wish to shop these. But yeah, something to keep your eye out here is this Usopp. And then, of course, something I found interesting is Iceberg. So I was like looking to pick up my leaders, and Iceberg was the cheapest leader, being like $17. I was like, I'll pick one up for 15. Well, now he's like 32, 33. So that once dud pool, again, kind of just showing that the whole set is just slightly increasing in value, but also, you know, he does have a decent effect. You get to play on your turn 1 a 5 cost for free, so that's huge value. But yeah, just want to keep your eyes on. Might be worth getting rid of, you know, of course, if you aren't collecting the leaders, but if you are, maybe might be a time to pick them up. Again, all of this really hinges on like if they just reprint all of these sets into Oblivion, which is obviously the hope, but definitely just be careful. But yeah, if you're looking for your leaders, he's kind of expensive now. He's no longer the cheapest in the set. And then, of course, I want to talk about Charlotte Linlin, Katakuri making a resurgence in OP-05. And then, of course, OP-06, Katakuri is still semi-relevant just because this Big Mom is such a strong card. Being from, again, OP-03 whole set kind of moving, this card is not. And so, not a ton. Maybe that's because yellow players don't stop playing yellow, but it just felt a bit undervalued to me considering how strong this card is. I think it's better than Marco. I think it's used more than Marco at this point, but it is, of course, only good in the Katakuri deck, arguably the others, but it sees the most success in Katakuri. But if they release any other Big Mom Pirates card that has a decent leader ability, this very well could be a key card because it is just that strong. This card everybody complains about. But yeah, 4/5 feels a little undervalued in my opinion. Again, none of this is financial advice, but if you don't have a playset, again, might be worth picking up. And then, of course, this Sanji. I don't like this price tag. It looks to be like recently bought up, but this card becomes playable in all of the new deck support that's coming out because, except for Luffy, but like Ace, you can use it to replace it and then place a new card face down. So for 4 Dawn, you can do a combo and add a card to your hand just right away. So something to keep your eyes on. I don't love it at 15, but it is the max rarity of this Sanji, and it is decent. It's got Pudding, it's got Sanji, so it's a kind of cute card. But yeah, if you can pick these up at like 10s, I think that's a cop. And then, of course, let's talk OP-06, but this is also OP-05.5. Finally, this card gets a little bit of respect. I mentioned this card, I believe, when it was around $4. This card is going to be played at like 3 of in Uda, and it's an OP-01 Romance Dawn super rare. People bought out Kinemon, but like this card, I think still just flies under the radar. It's one of the best green cards, I think, out there. He cheeses wins, if you would. But he pretty much, like, if you have a blocker and this, and your opponent doesn't have removal or anything to minus him, he's staying. And as we saw in the Purple Doflamingo that we had, he decides green games. So this card will be good forever, in my opinion. And I think that's kind of why we got to see this nice little spike. But come Uda probably plays 3 of these. So if you don't have them, definitely look into picking them up. Your locals might have some, but yeah, I think this card is just one of those sleeper cards. So definitely keep your eyes on this. And if you're going to shop them, use the link in the YouTube video description. Of course, it helps me, helps support the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, then we also have Eustace Captain Kidd, the Parallel Romance Dawn. I think this is just undervalued. And I think they obviously will move in parallel, but like it's a Romance Dawn alt. We have been seeing, I will give it credit, we have been seeing blister packs show up at retail locations, and the pop-up in Chicago had blister packs. So this might be a reprint in blisters, and keeping it down. But I think that this is a nice card to just own. And I think that this will go higher, of course, as people want to max rarity their decks. Same with this Eustace, the Wanted. The Wanteds are kind of hot. People want the full set. It is worth more than the Romance Dawn, which, again, I just don't agree with. That's my opinion. But if you're looking for this and you think that this is the max rarity, it might also just be worth picking up these. Because, again, it's one of those OP-03, which is just slowly increasing. And then, of course, let's just talk about some cards that I think are slightly underrated. They're so close to being good, but this E-Show, like whenever you have this E-Show dropped on you, you never feel good. It's got that 8-9 stat line, plus it with 1 Dawn, it gives all your opponent's characters -3 cost, so it's like a little baby Kuzan. So this card has so much potential. One, you eliminate cards from hand, and then also you have the potential to just decrease costs as we start seeing these more color combinations, and then just have more synergy. So something I'm just keeping my eyes on. If I didn't have a play set, I would be picking one up. And then let's just kind of talk about these mangas. They're kind of insane, 2,800. You actually see some sales here at that, which is crazy. And then there's a moderately played one that's sold for $1,700. But yeah, my friend just sold one for $2,300. Absolutely insane card here. And really just, you can't, it's not an everyday that you get just any TCG set that you can pull cards of this kind of bring up the whole OP-05. But starting out at around 17, now sitting at 27, absolutely insane. Might have to just give up that dream of owning the Three Brothers in manga. That's okay. And then we're going to talk about these. I mentioned these before. This at $6, and I was like, I feel like that's undervalued. I think everybody else agreed here, and you can see here now they're like 17. I don't love the value on this, but I still think that there's some room here. Again, it's a first anniversary card, but it doesn't have anything specifically saying that. And you can, of course, get like the Japanese version, but it's not as great. And of course, they're not technically legal. But just something to keep your eyes on. And then, of course, I think this is overvalued. People are paying like 45 at one point. Yamato, again, being just from that same set. And then you can see it like peaked at 50. I think this has room to go down. I think it has a lot of attention. I think these age very well over time. But like, again, I'm not team $400 Dawn set. And so if you have these, of course, the entry is probably $25-$30. Really depends on your locals. Or if you did sealed, it might have been less. But huge win just on these. And I just hope it goes to show that Bandai, that they should really like try to increase capacity on these events. And they do a decent job. But yeah, those local level events you had to apply for. A lot of them were full, all this and that. But yep, that's it for today. Again, if you found this content of value, if you could subscribe to the channel, do me a favor. It would help me out a ton. I'm trying to hit 2,000 before the end of the year. But also, on top of that, if you're shopping TCGPlayer, if you can use the link in the video description, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.